Captains of Industry, brought to you by Airtel.
Hello and the warmest welcome to this edition of Captains of Industry. Now, our captain tonight, she runs a company valued at around $1 billion. She's highly accomplished in the field of high finance. She's been named a young global leader for the World Economic Forum. She's featured on international Forbes lists of powerful women. She's Phuti Malabie, and she's also a media darling, mostly because she's hot, and I mean hot in all the right places. She's smart intellectually, she's young, she's African, she's successful, and she's beautiful. She embodies what it means to be part of a new generation of African leader. The CEO of Shanduka Holdings, our captain of industry tonight. Phuti Malabie, it's always great having you. How does it feel to carry the hopes of so many young Africans? When people look at you, they see the face of the modern African woman, they see the new generation of African leader, and you've got to live up to all these things.
Yeah. Well, I guess I could pose exactly the same question to you.
Yes, you can.
And I suppose it just comes down to the fact that you have to be the same person every day.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be one person from Monday to Friday and another person from Saturday to Sunday, right? And it just becomes a lifestyle that you have, that you always have to be aware of the fact that there are young people looking up to you. So the manner in which you live your life has to, you know, speak to the way in which you would want to be able to inspire other young people as well. But I mean, at the end of it all, to be honest, you know, I enjoy my life, and it's really just about living life authentically. Right. And most of all, I hope that young people can be inspired by that. Right. You know, the fact that they can just be themselves and achieve whatever goals they want to achieve.
I mean, you've had so many milestones in your career, but I think this is a big one. A year ago, becoming CEO of Shanduka. Yeah. Before that, you were their managing director on the energy side. Was it natural progression for you coming into the hot seat, or was it a surprise when they said to you, we think you need to be at the helm here?
It was a surprise, because it could have been any of the other executive members of the team. And so, you know, I was you know, very honored that the board selected me out of the entire executive team. They could have also chosen to select someone from outside the company. And I suppose, you know, selecting someone from within the team had its positives in that I had been with the organization for 7 years, and therefore, you know, have a very good sense of, you know, what works, what our views are, you know, and all of that. So it certainly helped in being able to run with things from the beginning with the organization.
I mean, the organization itself is fairly young. I think it's about 11 years old, Shanduka, and you've got, you know, interests across the spectrum of sectors, from mining, oil and gas, to paper and packaging. Just give us a sense of the journey. When this company was formed, was it in year 2000 to date? What guided that?
Yeah. Well, you know, I wasn't there, obviously, at that particular time. But, you know, I don't think, in fact, I was giving a speech to our staff just at the end of last year, and I was just saying that I don't think that even when Cyril was founding the business, you know, that he could have thought that it would turn out to what it became, you know, and I suppose the business has evolved, you know, over time. And I honestly don't have a clear sense of what vision he had in mind, but I know that he's always wanted to build something that would be significant, and a business that would be sustainable for the long term. And certainly that is something that he is achieving, and the team that he's brought together is young people who do want to grow a business for the long term.
Obviously, Cyril here is the founding father, and it's none other than Cyril Ramaphosa. We're going to speak about Cyril Ramaphosa in a second, but let's talk about him and Shanduka, because many people say Shanduka is successful largely because you've got this overarching presence of his big personality and name, and that in many ways it is an empowerment company. It is a company that's done well because it has these very strong political connections, ANC connections, those kinds of things. How do you respond when people do that? When people say you're not really a bona fide company, you're more of a black company in a country that's dealing with transformation? Yeah,
I suppose the reality is that the legislation for black economic empowerment has been an enabler. It has been a catalyst for businesses such as ours. However, a catalyst is exactly that. It sparks something, but it doesn't sustain you for the long term. And I think how we have differentiated ourselves is that we have, you know, positioned ourselves to be there for for the long term. And we're committed to building a business that is there for the long term. At 10 years, unfortunately, many businesses have not been able to even get to 10 years, many emerging businesses. But we're saying that at 10 years, we're still a very young business. You know, some of our partners have been around for 100 years, and we hope that perhaps one day we may also get there. But at the end of the day, it's about building a sustainable business for our shareholders and our stakeholders as well. And so, you know, I think that is how we differentiate ourselves. The perceptions that people and other parties have of us, that is something that we can't change and we don't have control over. And people will always have their own, you know, perceptions of us. But I think we have certainly always, you know, positioned ourselves as a business that is there to do business responsibly in, you know, the environment and all the, you know, the different spheres that we work in, but also to be able to make a difference. If you look at the work that we're doing through the Shanduka Foundation, you know, we are doing all that we can to ensure that we are responsible and that we are committed to making a difference in the lives of the people that we impact through our businesses.
Let's talk about Shanduka going forward, because in recent weeks, obviously, the news and the business media has been soaking up this big deal that was done with McDonald's and the fact that you guys have brokered this exclusivity for 20 years. Now, you're right in the center of that transaction. And what I want to know is McDonald's, Shanduka, you know, that's 20 years of happy meals, Phuti, 20 years of happy meals that you got to deliver. You know, why go in that particular area? Why look for that kind of exclusivity with McDonald's?
Our business is predominantly in the mining industry. And so what McDonald's has done, investing in that business is giving us diversification for the portfolio as a whole. But also it does, you know, give an extension to a business that we're currently invested in, which is the beverages business, our partnership with Coca-Cola. And we believe that by investing in McDonald's, that it's a business that lends itself very nicely to what we are already doing in Coca-Cola. And so, you know, it's giving us additional consumer-facing exposure. And we believe that it's, you know, it's a nice diversification to our business, but also a very good brand, you know, an iconic brand once more. And so we're very proud to have partners such as Coca-Cola, McDonald's.
But do you think you've read the market well? Nobody can argue that McDonald's is an iconic brand. But is it iconic in South Africa? Because you're competing with long-established food brands, the KFCs, Steers, the Spurs, and there is a sense that McDonald's had an uncomfortable relationship with the South African consumer. It took a long time to really gain momentum in this economy. It just wasn't quite the thing that the South African consumer wanted. Certainly the kids love the toys, but there was a sense that it's not really the most viable of propositions in this market.
Well, I think it's fair to say that McDonald's is still young in the South African market, but we believe in the brand. Looking at what the brand has done, you know, internationally, we believe there's still a lot of scope in South Africa. What we like about the McDonald's business model, and that is now for our partners who are the franchisees in this business, is that it's not just about having you know, a huge volume of restaurants, but having profitable restaurants. So whilst we, you know, we don't have any plans to have, you know, as many restaurants as some of our competitors do. However, when you look at each of the restaurants that we have, you will see that it is quality, upmarket restaurants where you can go in and have a really good experience, food experience. It's good quality food as well. And from a business perspective for the franchisees in the system, it's very profitable businesses as well. And so, you know, we believe in sustainable businesses, and we believe that this model is something that works. And so from our perspective, we believe there's still a lot of scope, there's still a lot of opportunity in the fast food market for McDonald's, and that is why we're standing behind the brand.
Like you said, I mean, the raison d'etre for Shanduka was effectively a resources and mining company, and that takes us also to other news currently in the market, and this is the whole issue about proposed joint venture with Glencore, you know, getting more assets on the coal and energy side. Just give us a sense of your strategic thinking on this front.
Right. So we have an existing relationship with Glencore. We've been partners with them for a number of years, and we also have a partner with Lonmin in the form of Lonmin and others as well. And you know, our focus is really to look at the investments that we currently have and to ensure that we are optimizing our portfolio, thereby continuing to invest in the existing investments that we have. And so rather than having an opportunistic, highly opportunistic approach of looking at a whole host of new sectors, what we are saying is that we need to be focusing more on the sectors that we are already you know, exposed supposed to, and continue to invest there. So it's about optimizing the portfolio and consolidating, and looking at potentially divesting from those assets that are non-core, to our business. And I think, it's a departure from having a highly opportunistic approach of just being acquisitive, continuously, without looking at your whole business and saying, going forward for growth, how do we take this forward? Are we going to be continuing to acquire passive stakes in a variety of different industries, or are we going to be looking at core sectors to say these are the sectors we want to focus on and we want to be growing deeper into
what
those
are
industries?
active mining interests in this particular market? Because obviously here we're talking about coal and energy security, and we know what South Africa is gunning for. In the long term, it's not going to be fossil fuel-based electricity, so you might have to rethink the strategy going forward. But but also other people are saying, resources are finite. You've got maybe another 30 years, 20 years of gold mining, for instance, and when we talk about empowerment, this is where the black players have to be. They really have to maximize their entry into this, because it's a birthright. Is that how you think?
No. In fact, I mean, we believe that, when you look at the energy industry, that it's for the long term, coal will continue to be a very key resource, for energy and also in the mining industry. And so as a fuel source, we believe it will still continue to play a dominant role. I think, when you look at other potential, fuel sources, whilst, you will continue to have this dominance of coal, you will, yes, have, other sources coming in the form of renewables and such, but they will never play the same level of dominance as you will have with coal. And it makes sense in the context of South Africa. We have an abundance of coal, and therefore we should continue to, to
but the mining question in
that.
general, what's your approach to mining? We've got the big nationalisation debate at the moment. And as a subtext is the fact that black people, because of the legacy of apartheid, feel that this is a birthright. These minerals are inherent into who we are as a people. We should own them. Those kinds of issues. And because we haven't seen a lot of transformation in mining, people are now pushing the nationalisation card. Others are saying actually people pushing for nationalisation are the ones who can't fund a lot of these equity transactions and want the state to come in to buffer black-owned businesses. Where do you fit in this continuum? What's your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, we, our focus is on our business, in terms of what we've been hearing and seeing in terms of nationalisation, that the discussions around that. From a business perspective, we certainly continue to invest in South Africa, and therefore we're not taking a view that assets are about to be nationalised and we shouldn't be investing. We believe in the future of the mining industry of this country, and we believe that the discussions around nationalisation are really a broader discussion around the requirements of, and looking at ways in which the inequalities in our society need to be addressed. And it's a real issue, that you have a youthful population that is significant, a significant portion of which is unemployed. And that is an issue that needs to be addressed. Now, should it be addressed through nationalisation or some other economic policy? That is a question that is still being discussed and is still up for debate. But from a business perspective, we're not reacting to that. We continue to invest in the sector, and we believe that there is, opportunity continuously in this sector for us.
Right, we continue on this tack. After the break, we'll be finding out more about Phuti Malabie. She's smart, she's dynamic, she's successful. She's also had the good fortune of having a world leader as her mentor. She referred to him, Cyril Ramaphosa. We're going to find out more about the relationship after the break. Do stay with us.